Back. Today, we're going to be talking about quiet, disorganized attachment style, especially in women. Quiet, disorganized attachment style, as you know, is something that I had to come up with myself as I was updating the field of attachment theory. Okay, loud, disorganized is more commonly what we would call fearful avoidant, or in the past, simply avoidant, or anxious dash avoidant. It's had a lot of names, and part of that is simply because we don't really know what to do with people who feel both anxious and avoidant traits at the same time, or really alternating. Okay, simultaneous anxious and avoidant traits, they come from extensive childhood trauma. Your brain learned that one way of connecting with people was not going to be enough. You had to constantly adapt to the pain, the chaos, the hurt, the awful things that you endured as a child. Of course, this is going to split in different directions for many people. So I had to craft something that was different from the pure one that we see, the really expressive one, the one that is very obvious, the one of the person who's chasing desire, passion, connection, safety over and over and over, and is sabotaging themselves, what we call loud. It's loud, and so I called it loud disorganized because it's very, very obvious and it's very, very clear and it's loud disorganized. And usually people say, yeah, that's me. I'm kind of loud in my relationships. That's the point. Today, we're going to talk about the one that's been invisible for about 80 years since attachment theory was really crafted. The one that, as it began, as Bowlby began working back in the 40s, 50s, and then really settled in the 60s with attachment theory. Over all of that time, people who had quiet disorganized were completely invisible because they have a freeze response. They freeze, they withdraw, they fawn, but they don't make much noise at all. They're invisible. Ingara, good to see you here. Claudia, Norna, glad you guys are all here. Welcome everybody in here. Quiet, disorganized attachment. Does anyone in here identify with quiet, disorganized attachment style so far? You've seen a lot of this on my channel. As I've been updating a field of attachment theory, it's got a tremendous amount of attention because, again, so many of these people, men and women who are quiet, disorganized, were completely invisible. Schizoid as a personality disorder, a little bit different. Full-on personality disorder, not quite the same as having an attachment issue. Extreme versions of attachment issues, different. No, they are not quite the same, to be honest with you. I see where you're going with it, I do, but not quite. Quiet disorganized are hyper vigilant around not harming any others. They are hyper focused on getting things wrong, and they don't really know what to do. The hallmark feature of quiet disorganized is just overwhelming confusion. Really. Quiet disorganized, that's why they have a freeze response in the first place. Their vagus nerve, they have a dorsal shutdown as they get freaked out and don't know what to do. Broca's area, the speech center of the brain, shuts down to prevent saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. And they freeze. It's a deeper layer of the limbic system. That's why I say people with attachment issues in general aren't broken, but quiet, disorganized women in particular, they just feel broken. They feel ashamed that they lose the ability to speak when they're stressed out. Again, this is a feature of the brain, not a bug. Your brain's not messed up. You're freaking out and having a dorsal vagal shutdown and Broca's area is being shut down. Your prefrontal cortex overdevelops to squash emotional expression on purpose and make it hard to display emotions on your face. You'll have what's called a flat affect, blank face. And ultimately what that leads to is you shut down and pull away, but you look disinterested to other people. It looks like you don't care. It looks like you simply check out. And so this gives rise to the false belief that these people are too good to talk to other people. Ice princess is one thing that's called. Just you don't care, you're not interested, you're better than us, things like that. You think you're better than us. And this is a complete mystery to people with quiet disorganized because really what's fascinating is many of them have the same emotional awareness as somebody with autism spectrum disorder, ASD, of an absolute lack of cues and a lack of awareness of cues and what to do about them, a lack of social awareness. The difference with ASD is that is driven internally, even at a calm state. Their brain doesn't logically grasp it. It has to be manually programmed in. Whereas with a person who's quiet disorganized, their chaotic environment was so turbulent and fearful and dangerous growing up that rules didn't seem to apply except stay out of everyone's way or they'll hurt you. So they just learned to run away, hide, fawn, or freeze because nothing was ever good enough and the damage kept happening. So they never learned a rule set for social engagement that actually was successful. So it looks very similar. A lot of women who look like they have ASD, but without many of the other features, often it's quiet disorganized instead. So a lot of the work is training them manually on, if you had grown up in a healthy family that understood social connection, here's what you would have learned. Here's what people expect from you. Here's a 4-point system for trusting people, and don't trust anyone until they lock at least level 3, level 4. Trust them then, but here's what to do at those different levels. Here's compatibility testing in romance. Here's how to not be picked by someone who's abusive and chaotic, and they're the only ones who are persistent enough to push through your boundaries. Here's how to actually have healthy boundaries, and then here's how to connect to healthier, more secure people who are actually going to care for you in a different way. Here's what a man and woman should be offering to each other. They usually don't even know that. They've just instinctively gone for relationships because people just like kick in the door and say, all right, you're my girlfriend now. And she's like, okay, like, I guess. She just goes in for it, but then she's like, what is this even supposed to be? Why are we even doing this? And they question that quite often. So it's growing manual awareness of relationships because the systems they grew up in couldn't be generalized anywhere else. So they completely missed all the social cues that way. Again, very similar appearance to ASD, but not the same. I want to be very clear, not the same. Can it overlap? Can it be both? Sure, people are going to ask me that. They probably could be both. But awareness of it looks the same, many of the same features apply, many of the same trainings apply in some regard. Now, one thing that women with quiet disorganized, and men as well, it's just primarily women that I see with it, but men as well, is a lack of awareness that they have needs, a lack of awareness of what those needs might be, a lack of awareness of how to share those needs, and a disbelief that anyone wants to hear those needs. That's also a big feature in relationship. I have no idea what my own needs are, right? I think I need oxygen and water. I can get those myself, right? That's as far as they go with understanding of needs. Oxygen and water. And above that is anything above that is being spoiled. That's the quiet, disorganized mindset. Anything above oxygen and water is being spoiled. And even if I'm not getting oxygen or water, I won't complain about it because that would be entitlement. Which is, again, let's draw that split. The world perceives them to be saying, I'm better than all of you, so I don't want to engage. And on the inside, they're like, well, I guess I don't deserve oxygen and water. Like that's the absolute split here between the internal and external realities. So understanding the external reality and being able to engage with people a little bit differently is a big piece, as well as quiet disorganized women being able to tell other people, hey, the people they trust, when we build that, I recognize that I'm probably not coming across as my actual self to most people. I'm realizing more and more that I have a freeze response that makes it very hard for me to engage with people, and I think that makes me look disinterested in my relationships and closed off. And I'm only beginning to understand that, number one, I'm looking that way, and number two, that people want more than that from me. So I'm asking you, number one, have I ever looked disorganized, or have I ever looked disinterested or shut off? And number two, do you want anything more from me than that? And usually other people say, yes, I always just assumed you were not interested. And yes, I would love more than that from you. And that begins the wave of growing self-awareness of, oh, wow, things are very different than I understood. And as this person, as the quiet disorganized person, understands that some people want certain connections from them, relationships, then they learn how to filter for trustworthiness, then they learn how to articulate, learning a whole language of articulation of emotional concerns and things to those people, and then learning about reciprocation and how they have to bring their needs forward and other people are bringing their needs in as well, and then understanding different social cues of what's expected, but honestly just checking in with the person saying, I'm not sure what's expected here, could you please tell me what you're expecting, and being able to engage with the other person so that it's a mutual relationship, and then removing all guessing from the relationship, and then helping that quiet disorganized person figure out what their goals are and what they actually desire in life. Now that they have that, all of this is it's a whole set of work that needs to be done together, but it's very manual focused and very skill training focused. So it's definitely better conducted by a coach, someone that understands how to do that. Me and my coaches, we do this all the time. But that is the pathway for working on and fixing quiet disorganized attachment. Not because the person's broken. Again, their system is working as intended. It's just that the environment that shaped them was so abnormal, number one, and they don't recognize that. Recognizing that is part of the battle. Recognizing how abnormal their environment was, how poorly it set them up for general environments, and how they're continuing to react to abnormal environment in general environments, so it's not appropriate, and then understanding that they can even ask other people what they're looking for. This is massive, massive, massive. So extremely important. If I remove all guessing in the relationships, it seems like I have no initiative. Explain more, Sarah. Explain more. Because removing guessing in the relationships is actually how you bring peace to both nervous systems. Guessing is not the point. Guessing is actually very destructive. However, it should be replaced with questioning. Questioning. You should be asking the other person, hey, I would like to do something for you, or I see this thing, but rather than me guessing what you want, is this accurate? Would you like this? Could I do this for you? Or is something else better? Cool, I'm happy to do that for you. That's why it doesn't look like a lack of interest. It actually looks like an increase in interest. Actually, question asking is the number one way that humans actually pick up that someone's interested in them, even more than jumping ahead, anticipating needs. You asked me questions, you're curious about me, and then you're following up on those questions and answers, and you're doing something about it. Yes, this is actually more interest and more initiative. So it's all expressing desire and expressing connection together. But this is how quiet, disorganized individuals can grow beyond their own head out into actual expressive, intimate, bonded relationships, is being able to have that. I got one hair what is that hair doing? Oh, it's supposed to go this way. Oh, yeah, I got it. See? Quiet, disorganized. I'm quiet, disorganized. My mom is narcissist. Yeah, most quiet, disorganized individuals usually have one parent with a personality disorder, or minimum a grandparent with a personality disorder. And then you can have a parent who had like really loud, disorganized style, and another parent who had maybe like avoidant style. And then you have come out residual attachment challenges, residual pain, residual trauma, not from bad parents necessarily, but you could have grandparents who were catastrophically abusive, or your parents were catastrophically abusive. That's usually what I see that forms disorganized style in general, is usually a personality disordered parent, or at least a catastrophically bad personality disordered grandparent usually is what does it. Or actually grandparents on both sides usually, so both parents were traumatized individually. I see that a lot too. So that's the component. I need to guess what's expected. Question will irritate them. Well, that's exactly specifically the criteria for seeing if you should be with someone or not. So asking questions of someone with a personality disorder, for example, will cause them to get angry and upset because you're fishing for information that they think you're going to use against them. They shut down questions that you have and punish you for asking questions. And that specifically is filtering criteria for the person you should be with. A person that you are actually going to be able to form a long-term, successful, non-abusive relationship with is not only going to welcome questions, but actually require questions. Question asking is the number one way of building a truly intimate relationship. So you have to be able to ask questions. You have to be able to be curious about each other. Otherwise, it's like a hostage situation. I'll be asking the questions around here. You will shut up and sit in the corner and do as you're told. Well, that's a hostage situation. That's being taken hostage and imprisoned. Prisoners are not allowed to ask questions. That's prison. Prisoners are not allowed to make decisions. They're not allowed to be curious. They will shut up and sit in their cell and comply. That's a prison. Okay. So if your relationship is prison, then that means that your partner is the warden who controls the prison. And in human relationships that are not prison, that usually, quite often, indicates personality disorder. So Really, really, really great test. Really great test if the relationship is going to be able to function or not. So, quiet, disorganized individuals usually need to hear that information too. That is not usual. That's abnormal. That is actually abnormal. Now, it's unfortunately becoming more common. Personality disorders in our society have gone from 10% to an estimated 15 or even 20%. Doubling is not good. So that's Kohlberg's morality scale. 20% personality disorders is unsustainable for a culture and a civilization, by the way, which is, we're seeing a lot of things from that. But again, that's 20% personality disordered, 80% not. With a 50 to 65% of adults with attachment issues. So we're seeing a massive, massive, massive rise of people who can't function very well in relationships, yes, but people who will get angry, bristle, and shut down about questions, 10 to 20%. Okay. Now, if you have only dated that 10 to 20% your entire life, that's because you are geared to, number one, accept them and tolerate them. And number two, your mind says, these are the only people I have skills to understand. So when other people signal to you, you miss it. And instead, you pick up those signals quickly and then respond to them. So unfortunately, when you have a personality disorder parent, they build buttons into you so that they can control you for life. And then other people with the same personality disorder can come along and push those same buttons that are built into you. It's a specific behavioral pattern of managing other people by pushing buttons. And so they come in and test if you have those buttons. When you do, they move in and then slam your buttons as often as they want. So that's incredibly, incredibly, incredibly important. But yes, quiet, disorganized people, they miss all bonding signals from healthy, secure people because they freeze. It feels intimidating. It's confusing. They don't know why they're being invited to ask more questions. It feels like a trap. They don't know why other people are asking more questions. It feels intrusive. They freeze up and don't know how to answer, so they pull away. Then they look disinterested. The other people give up and then move away, and that's how securely attached people move away from quiet, disorganized, and how they segregate out. And the only people that are persistent and rude enough to push in and keep pushing and realizing, oh, you're frozen, I can take advantage of this, personality disordered individuals typically. So that's usually the thing. Yeah, don't answer the question. Well, freeze. Like you have a dorsal vagal shutdown as your amygdala screams, the fear center of the brain, turns off prefrontal cortex, goes to limbic system. Limbic system says, I can't fight, flight, and fawn. I can't approval seek either. All I can do is freeze, shut everything down. Broca's area, the speech center of the brain, turns down. So you have the language capacity of like a 2-year-old. And then your vagus nerve clamps shut. And then you just go into a lockdown freeze state where you're dissociated from everything. And the other person, they don't understand that because your face is blank. They just think you're staring at them in defiance and that you're not interested in having a conversation. So they think you're telling them, get away from me. So they're like, okay, I guess we're done. And they walk away thinking that you're disinterested. That's a specific piece. So that's the conversation, guys, unfortunately. So again, quiet, disorganized women are not broken. You're not wrong, your system isn't trash. Like it's how do I say this? Your system is working as it's designed to work. However, you're responding to an old environment that was so catastrophically abnormal that now when you try to respond to a normal environment, you can't because you haven't been able to generalize those skill sets. So you freeze, and that's what's keeping you disconnected. And the only people that push through are the people that will actually hurt you more. So learning all of this, getting the skill sets you need to filter other people, not judge them, but discern who's a right fit for your life, for trust, and then the skill set to articulate to them, the skill set to manage your nervous system and stop the shutdowns from happening and protect Broca's area, the speech center so you can continue speaking, the ability to open up and connect with a couple of two, maybe 3 people and help them understand what's going on so you're never misunderstood again. Then you engage with them fully and you begin receiving oxytocin bonding often for the first time in your life, and then serotonin and parasympathetic nervous system, all of that becomes enriched. And through that, you experience the intimacy of human connection, and that builds a stronger buffer against bad relationships, really, because that prevents you from settling for them anymore because you're not willing to tolerate it. So your tolerance improves, And then you have a couple of core relationships that are deeply satisfying. And that's really all that you need, but that also calms your nervous system and the rest of your life. It improves your sleep, improves your immune system, improves your hormones, improves everything. So your quality of life goes up, and you finally feel connected to people that love you and you love them. And that's the pathway for fixing quiet, disorganized attachment. That's really what it is. So understanding that, incredibly important. Can you talk about quiet, disorganized dating and avoidant? They don't usually date purely avoidance, to be honest with you. They might, but usually what they'll do is date somebody who is loud, disorganized, who is primarily avoidant in their presence, and they flip you to an anxious state, but they are primarily showing you their avoidant state. So that's usually the complicating factor, is you're not dating a purely avoidant person, you're dating a loud, disorganized person with a primary appearance of avoidance, but there's a massive complicating factor underneath. Or dating someone with a personality disorder that looks avoidant, and you're simply letting them off the hook for their personality disordered, painful behaviors they're leveraging at you. That's quite often what I see. So that's that, you guys. That's that problem. So I was seeing a DA. That's what triggered my research. Again, it's possible, but a loud, disorganized, or an ethical avoidant person or a manipulative avoidant person, if they were truly manipulative enough to push through your freeze response, maybe, but they're usually going to feel like you don't have enough for them to latch on to. You're not responding the right way that an avoidant would expect more of an anxious person to respond. You're actually going to flag as more of an avoidant. So an avoidant would look at you almost like an avoidant and then connect with you that way, which is possible. I've seen it. It is possible. It's just not as likely for an avoidant to push through your freeze response like that, to give you that deep connection. That's usually the connection piece there. So again, not impossible, not impossible. Just that's the piece. All right, guys, I hope that this was helpful. I really hope this was helpful. I've worked with a tremendous number of quiet, disorganized individuals, primarily women, but also men through the course of my work. I can tell you absolutely that this is completely improvable. I'm not going to say fixable, because you're not broken, you're not messed up, but it's changeable. Let's just say you adapted years ago. You can adapt. Excuse me. Sorry, coffee. You can adapt again. You can adapt again going forward. It's just going to take some time and some learning and some guidance. And then you have to have experiences. It's not something you can do inside your head. That won't fix the problem. It won't repair you. It won't help you adapt. You have to have experiences with other humans. Yes, you can prep through skill training, but the experiences is what's actually going to make the changes happen. Prep with skill training, move forward, use the skills, have the experiences, change your brain chemistry, change your hormones. That's the component. If you guys need more of that, make sure you go check out my video here on this channel. Quiet, disorganized women were never broken. They just were never felt safe. It's the safety factor that makes the difference. I believe that video is actually releasing just now, if I think, or it's released recently. I have a number of quiet, disorganized videos on this channel, and I've got more that are coming as well. So let us know if you need some help, guys. I'm here. AdamLanesmith.com is my website. You guys know that. It's linked in the description and the About Me section and everything. So let me know how I can help. But I hope this has given hope to everybody in here who might feel quiet, disorganized.